Jai, Jai, Jai. Krishna, Krishna. Were you ready to lead Kirtan, Prabhu?
I can.
Or I can, and you can lead later if you like.
Are we preserving your voice, or are you free to do as you please?
Uh, a little bit of both, I guess.
Well, then it's your call, Prabhu. I enjoy hearing you lead.
Well, I'll start, and then perhaps you can do later. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Satashri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Dham ki jai. Ganga Mayi ki jai. Jamuna Mayi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone for Srimad Bhagavatam with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Monday, October 7th, 2024 in New York. And tonight we're starting with Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 6, text number 35. Jai Maharaj, happy to see you. Glad you could make it.
Hare Krishna, Kendra.
Hare Krishna.
Good to see
Om
you.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. First, let me post the verse in the chat so we can keep track of where we are. Vidya tapo yoga patam astitam tam adhishvaram charantang vishvasuridam vatsalya lokamangalam. The demigods saw Lord Shiva situated in his perfection as the master of the senses, knowledge, fruitive activities, and the path of achieving perfection. He was the friend of the entire world, and by virtue of his full affection for everyone, he was very auspicious. Purport: Lord Shiva is full of wisdom and tapasya, austerity. One who knows the modes of work is understood to be situated on the path of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One cannot serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead unless one has achieved full perfectional knowledge in the ways and means of performing devotional service. Lord Shiva is described here as Adhishvara. Ishvara means controller, and Adhishvara means particularly controller of the senses. Generally, our materially contaminated senses are apt to engage in sense gratificatory activities. But when a person is elevated by wisdom and austerity, the senses then become purified, and they become engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is the emblem of such perfection. Therefore, in the scriptures it is said, Vaishnavanang yatha shambhuhu. Lord Shiva is a Vaishnava. Lord Shiva, by his actions within this material world, teaches all conditioned souls how to engage in devotional service 24 hours a day. Therefore, he is described here as Loka Mangala, good fortune personified for all conditioned souls. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yes, one of the words that Prabhupada, well, it's in the verse, Vishvasuridam, the friend of the whole world. Lord Shiva is being described here as the friend of the whole world. Suhrida means like, there are different kinds of friends in Sanskrit. Suhrid is one of them. Suhrida means like good heart, someone who has your benefit in mind. Generally, there's wide a wide variety of persons in the material world. Most of them are just in it for themselves. The degree to which a person is considered great, at least in terms of Vedic understanding, is the degree to which they are broad-minded, Mahatmas versus Kripanas. So someone who's stated here, Vatsalyat, out of full affection, auspicious for everyone, meaning that they only want the benefit of others. They have nothing, they have no personal ambition. This is certainly the sign of a great soul. And Prabhupada says that that Lord Shiva is the emblem. What does he say exactly? He says Lord Shiva is the emblem of such perfection. He's speaking about how he's perfect in controlling the senses. And he's able to control the senses because his senses are always engaged in the service of the Lord. And he's showing by his very person how to do that. The word used there is yoga patam, isn't it? Yoga patam, the path of devotional service. Interesting how that word pata is similar to our English word path. But he's on the path, he is the path, he's showing the path. One is reminded, I was thinking of this word auspicious, how it's frequently used to describe the Lord and his devotees and devotional service itself. And it's auspicious is a word that tends to mean favorable for success. That if something is auspicious, then it's a good sign for one's success in whatever endeavor one may be working. But here we're talking about the goal of life. And certainly Lord Shiva understands what that is, which is devotional service. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu, Prabhupada quotes here and many other places. So one is reminded, because of his nature of being the Surid also, of that Upanishadic verse describing the two persons that, as birds in the tree of the body, one very busily eating the fruits, the jiva, and then the super soul, the Paramatma, who's just patiently watching the eating bird, watching and waiting. So Lord Shiva is very much like that. He's very patient. He wants nothing but auspiciousness for everyone. He has no personal ambition. And he knows the ways and means, or as we say here, the know-how. He has that knowledge of how to serve the Lord. Prabhupada, in the first paragraph of the purport, he says the same thing in two different ways. That basically, you can't serve the Lord unless you know how. When you have to know the modes of work, and this is what Lord Shiva is personifying here. And the demigods could perceive this just by looking at him. They could see, because of their own wisdom, that here is that person that knows the ways and means of how to serve the Lord. So in the presence of such a grave and wise personality, one's demeanor must suddenly must what's the word, must change in order to suit that environment. So that's what we're about to hear when Brahma coaches the demigods what to say, how to say it, to pacify Lord Shiva. Maharaj, we'd love to hear from you on this, if you'd like to say something here.
The Prabhupada makes the point, Vidyatapo, well, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namni Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachar Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashkachidesha Tami Vidyatapo Yoga Patam Astita. Prabhupada makes the point that all of these are adjunct to devotional service. tapasya, vidya. Yoga means ultimately devotional service. The one professor sort of observed that Prabhupada always reads everything to mean Krishna and devotional service to Krishna. And Prabhupada said that yes, he'd understood. So that we have. Vidya means Krishna consciousness. Tapasya, Vasudeva, what is that? Vasudeva Paratapa. So that's all there. And Visvasuridam, as the Kendra Prabhu observed, the heart-to-heart friend of everyone. Krishna is Suridam Sarvabhutana, the best friend of everyone. And Prabhupada said the devotee is the best friend of everyone because he says that Krishna is your best friend. The materialist, like the politician, is your best friend. In school, as kids, if you wanted something from somebody, you'd say, "I'll be your best friend." But here, as Kendra Prabhu said, there's not a material motive. The Suhrid, the true friend, is genuinely desiring the benefit of others, Lokamangala. So the devotee doesn't try to masquerade as the best friend of everyone. He knows that real friendship is shown by bringing someone to the lotus feet of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. We have, Radhesha Prabhu, you're back. Would you like to read our text number 36?
Text 36. Yeah, let me make sure I've got it lined up here on the Kindle. Yeah, I got a call actually from an inmate, one of my old buddies. He's been in jail for a few years, but he just called to tell me that he just purchased the Mahabharata. So that's what he's reading in jail, but he only gets a couple minute call. So it was very brief, and now I'm back, but I had to run away to take it because he only gets a few minute free call each week. All right, text 36. Lingam chatapasabhishtam bhasma danda jatajinam angena sandhya bhrarucha chandralekam cha bibhratam. He was seated on a deerskin and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body was smeared with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was the sign of a half moon, a symbolic representation. Lord Shiva's symptoms of austerity are not exactly those of a Vaishnava. Lord Shiva is certainly the number one Vaishnava, but he exhibits a feature for a particular class of men who cannot follow the Vaishnava principles. These Shaivites, the devotees of Lord Shiva, generally dress like Lord Shiva, and sometimes they indulge in smoking and taking intoxicants. Such practices are never accepted by the followers of Vaishnava rituals. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Gurudasa Jayadvaita Swami Namni. So Tapasa Bhishtam, they have this particular type of tapas, austerity, that's sort of an imitation of Lord Shiva. And so Srila Prabhupada, of course, famously comments that if you're going to imitate, can you also imitate his drinking of the ocean of poison, or at least a portion of the ocean after churned? No. So if you can't drink that poison, then perhaps you also shouldn't be smoking any poison. And this was actually discouraging in Srila Prabhupada's youth when he went to see who would become his spiritual master. He was feeling as though maybe this is another one of these so-called sadhus. His father was so pious that he would always welcome any sadhu into his home and serve them and ask for their blessings. Please let my son become a great devotee. But Srila Prabhupada noticed that some of these sadhus had some questionable forms of austerity, and his father would even sometimes keep ganja to serve these sadhus. But that's not, as Srila Prabhupada writes here, not exactly the austerity of a Vaishnava. that we generally see. And so Lord Shiva, although he's Vaishnava Namyata Shambhu, and his position is beyond question and not to be imitated. And so it seems to me that that's the takeaway here in this purport. If there's something more, Guru Maharaj, I revert to you.
Prabhupada, what shall we say, pragmatically or wisely, or makes it clear that this is not what the Vaishnavas should adopt, not because Lord Shiva is cool, because he's, cuts this really distinctive profile, that we should also adopt that distinctive profile and start, as you said, imitating Lord Shiva. The devotees should follow Lord Shiva in performing devotional service to Krishna, but not try to dress like Lord Shiva. And particularly, Prabhupada observed the what he called the hippie seeds, the tendency to for the brahmacharis to grow their hair and to cut a more Shaivite profile than Vaishnav, or to start veering in that direction. So Prabhupada, I think, finds it wise to caution here that Lord Shiva is not to be imitated. He's in a different, he is who he is, but where to follow the principles of the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. I was noticing the wording here. Sandhya Abra describes Lord Shiva as being reddish in color, yet we most frequently or typically see him depicted as bluish. Since you had so much contact with Prabhupada and the BBT art department, I was wondering why that might be.
I don't really know. I don't have something particular to contribute there. I'd only be speculating or sort of just justifying, but not really knowing.
Madhupati Prabhu, would you like to take text number 37?
Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Putale Guritas Jayadvaita Swami. Upavistam Darbhamayam Brichyam Brahma Sanatanam Naradaya Pravochantam Prichate Shinvatam Satam. He was seated on a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the great sage Narada, to him he specifically spoke about the absolute truth. Perfect. The Lord was sitting on a mattress of straw because such a sitting place is accepted by persons who are practicing austerities to gain understanding of the absolute truth. In this verse, it is specifically mentioned that he was speaking to the great sage Narada, a celebrated devotee. Narada was asking Lord Shiva about devotional service, and Shiva, being the topmost Vaishnava, was instructing him. In other words, Lord Shiva and Narada were discussing the knowledge of the Veda. But it is to be understood that the subject matter was devotional service. Another point in this connection is that Lord Shiva is the supreme instructor, and the great sage Narada is the supreme audience. Therefore, the supreme subject matter of Vedic knowledge is bhakti or devotional service. Yeah. So here's for the description that Lord Shiva was sitting on this straw mattress, which is considered as a sitting place accepted by those performing austerities. And the purpose of performing those austerities to gain understanding of the absolute truth. And here he is instructing about devotional service to Narad Muni, considered the topmost Vaishnava, Vaishnavanam Yatha Sambhu. Another point which Srila Prabhupada mentions in this connection is that Lord Shiva is the supreme instructor and the great sage Narada is the supreme audience. And the supreme subject matter of the Vedas is bhakti, devotional service. Vedascha sarvai aham eva vedeya. Vedas are there to understand the one who has created the Vedas, the Supreme Lord. Yeah. That's all I had on this.
Thank you so much, Madhupati Prabhu.
Thank you.
Maharaj, can you say something here?
As elsewhere, Prabhupada says you can understand the topic of the discussion by seeing the audience. If some big business people are talking, you can understand they're probably talking about profit and loss in one form or another. And when Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami are speaking, we can understand that the topic must be Krishna consciousness, devotional service. So here too, Narad is specifically singled out as being the person to whom Lord Shiva is speaking. And because his focus is devotional service, there were others present, but Narada Muni is, again, the emblem of devotional service. So that must have been the topic. Brahma Sanatanam, again in Caitanya-caritamrta, Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, wherever you see that word Brahma, you can understand Krishna. He's the Param Brahma. Also, Prichyate Srinvatam Satam, the great sages were also listening. So the conversation was between Narad and Lord Shiva, but the sages who were present were getting transcendental enlightenment by hearing what Lord Shiva and Narad Muni were discussing. What is that? Bharyane Shate Prashna Lokakritam Nrpa. What your questions are glorious because they concern the absolute truth, and so they'll be beneficial for everyone. Lokamangalam. So these topics exchanged between Lord Shiva and Narad Muni would be beneficial for all. And so the sages would be listening with attention. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. One thing occurred to me, we were speaking about this, my wife and I the other day, how considering the context of what's happening in the aftermath of some incredible tragedy, Lord Shiva losing his wife, this big sacrifice being completely annihilated. It's interesting to see how Lord Shiva is now dealing with this just by speaking about bhakti with Narada Muni. It seems very instructive that in our own life, whatever tragedies we may encounter, that seems to be the antidote.
Yeah, good.
Also, I found it impressive that, I'm sorry.
No, thank you. It's good.
I found it impressive that Narada Muni, whom we more frequently see in the pages of Bhagavatam instructing others, here is hearing from Lord Shiva, which is another indication of Lord Shiva's greatness, that Narada wants to hear from him. And Saraswati Mata says, Pranams Param Puja Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. If Narad Muni is specifically empowered in knowledge and practice of bhakti, then is he not the most qualified supreme instructor in bhakti too?
Therefore, Bodhyanta Parasparam. Machchita Madgata Prana Bodhyanta Parasparam. The great souls, the great devotees, will exchange realizations among themselves, even though we might calculate and say, oh, Narada Muni is number one, or Lord Shiva is number one. But on the transcendental platform, they're both supremely qualified to both to instruct and to hear. And the mood of a Vaishnava is like that to want to hear also, not just to think that I'm only qualified to speak.
She also makes the observation that with the Kumara brothers also present, you now have all of the three founders of the Vaishnava Sampradayas present.
We can take it that wherever Narayan is, Lakshmi is there. Narayan Kata is there, Lakshmi's. What is that? Mangalam. So wherever there's Mangal, the goddess of fortune is there.
Radhesh Prabhu?
I just had a thought on colors, because sometimes Shiva is described in different colors, and one of the places he's described as Rukma, which is red, but it can also mean golden, and that's described as golden in many places, which is, in my eyes, what Sandhyabra would be. I mean, of course, we're seeing in the commentary, Sandhyabra is described as reddish, but that Sandhya in the evening sky, sometimes as the sun's going down, you get sort of a golden glow in the sky, and so how we perceive colors, even on these great personalities, could be different in different circumstances. You know, sometimes he's bluish, especially with the drinking of poison, and sometimes he's very effulgent and golden looking, and yeah, red is also being described here. So it's just some thoughts on color. We don't have to be so firmly fixed that is he blue or is he red. You know, sometimes he's perceived in different ways, and in this particular case, it's being described as reddish. But yeah, it's not, you know, in our material features, you know, we're all just sort of in the West at least, sort of a pale white. I know one South Indian friend, he said his grandma, when she would see a Westerner, she'd, you know, cover her eyes and do some ceremonial, like warding off the bhutas sort of gestures, because, you know, the white skin. But in these great personalities, we're getting a lot more colors being described. So I don't know if that is insightful, but I thought it's nice that we get so many colors, so much more variety than we're used to.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Saraswati Mata, would you like to read a verse?
I'm so sorry, but my vision still isn't really great yet. It's very hard to read.
Hare Krishna. Sorry to hear it. Hope it heals soon. Thank you. I'll read our next verse here. Let's see where. 38. Kritvaro dakshine savyam pada padmang chajanuni bahum prakoshte kshamalam asinang tarkamudraya. His left leg was placed on his right thigh, and his left hand was placed on his left thigh. This sitting posture is called virasana. In his right hand, he held rudraksha beads, and his finger was in the mode of argument. The sitting posture described herein is called virasana, according to the system of Ashtanga yoga performances. In the performance of yoga, there are 8 divisions, such as yama and niyama, controlling, following the rules and regulations, then practicing the sitting postures, etc. Besides virasana, there are other sitting postures, such as padmasana and siddhasana. Practice of these asanas without elevating oneself to the position of realizing the supersoul, Vishnu, is not the perfectional stage of yoga. Lord Shiva is called Yogishvara, the master of all yogis, and Krishna is called Yogeshvara. Yogeshvara indicates that no one can surpass the yoga practice of Lord Shiva, and Yogeshvara indicates that no one can surpass the yogic perfection of Krishna. Another significant word is Tarka Mudra. This indicates that the fingers are opened and the second finger is raised along with the arm to impress the audience with some subject matter. This is actually a symbolic representation. Hare Krishna. I don't have anything to say here, really. Maharaj, would you like to elaborate?
Just a small thing. Symbolic representation is easy to understand. We also have our Western mudras. You know, if you go like this, then that's understood as the symbol is understood. Thumbs up. So these other mudras would be understood that this Tarka mudra means impressing a particular point upon the ears. Hare Krishna.
Right, like Tarka Pratishta, that's the mode of argument is seen. Srila Vishwanath describes this to some degree in his commentary. He has a description of the Tarka Mudra. And he says, reciters of mantra define the Tarka Mudra as placing the tips of the forefinger and thumb together while spreading the other fingers. So, like this.
And argument doesn't mean like wrangling and disputing, but logic, tarka, when we say argument, it means logic. Not that our Muni would have been arguing with Lord Shiva, but means impressing a logical point.
In line with the symbolic representation, a couple of verses ago, what does that mean in the context of the moon and the hair? In that case, it's being symbolic.
Well, that's another symbol of what it particularly means. I'm not quite sure, but it means Lord Shiva. You know, when you see that moon symbol, then you can understand, oh, Lord Shiva, this is connected with Lord Shiva. But what particular, you know, how the symbol, you know, how does a thumbs up symbol exactly mean good, approved? There may be some genesis to it, so I don't know. Somebody, I'm sure there is some explanation, but I'm not familiar with it.
That's all right. Srila Prabhupada made it clear it's not necessarily the dress of a Vaishnava. We can just appreciate that's Shiva's symbolism. Thank you much.
It's also stated here that he has his Rudraksha beads with him, but it's not mentioned what he's chanting.
You're muted, Maharaj.
Thank you. Elsewhere it's mentioned that he chants the names of Sankarshan, Rama, Sankarshan.
Jai. Panchatattva Prabhu has joined our meeting. I wanted to see if he would like to read our next verse, which is text number 39 in the 6th chapter. Are you able to do that, Prabhu?
Thank you for the offer. We're en route right now. But Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, good to see your name in any case.
I'll read.
Oh, Jai.
Tam Brahma Nirvana Samadhyam Ashritam Vipashritam Kirisham Yoga Kaksham Salokapala Muniyo Manunam Adyam Manum Pranjalaya Pranemuhu. All the sages and demigods, headed by Indra, offered their respectful obeisances unto Lord Shiva with folded hands. Lord Shiva was dressed in saffron garments and absorbed in trance, thus appearing to be the foremost of all sages. Purport: in this verse, the word Brahmananda is significant. This Brahmananda, or Brahmanirvana, is explained by Prahlad Maharaj. When one is completely absorbed in the Adhokshaja, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the sense perception of materialistic persons, one is situated in Brahmananda. It is impossible to conceive of the existence, name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he is transcendentally situated beyond the conception of materialistic persons. Because materialists cannot imagine or conceive of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they may think that God is dead, but factually, he is always existing in his Satchidananda Vigraha, his eternal form. Constant meditation concentrated on the form of the Lord is called samadhi, ecstasy or trance. Samadhi means particularly concentrated attention. So one who has achieved the qualification of always meditating on the personality of Godhead is to be understood to be always in trance and enjoying Brahmanirvana or Brahmananda. Lord Shiva exhibited those symptoms, and therefore it is stated that he was absorbed in Brahmananda. It's mentioned in Caitanya-caritamrta, and Prabhupada mentions in the purports that some, as he said, foolish godbrother criticized that we had one Brahmananda Swami, and this was like an impersonalistic name, and the Prabhupada mentions that among Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates, Brahmananda parties, there are devotees, because Brahma means ultimately the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. So to be engaged in Brahmananda or Brahmanirvana means that one is absorbed in thinking of Krishna. Or it may be, one may be absorbed in the impersonal absolute, but the devotees are absorbed in Brahman or Brahmananda by thinking of Krishna, who's inconceivable. The Brahman is supposed to be Aksharam, Manirdesham, and so on, beyond all material qualities, beyond description even. But these are the qualities of the personality of Godhead, who's beyond material description, beyond material qualities. Another significant word is Yoga Kaksham. Yoga Kaksha is the sitting posture in which the left thigh is fixed under one's tightly knotted saffron-colored garment. Also, the words Manunam, Adyam, are significant here because they mean a philosopher, or one who's thoughtful and can think very nicely. Such a man is called Manu. Lord Shiva is described in this verse as the chief of all thinkers. Lord Shiva, of course, does not engage in useless mental speculation, but as stated in the previous verse, he's always thoughtful regarding how to deliver the demons from their fallen condition of life. It is said that during the advent of Lord Chaitanya, Sadashiva appeared as Advaita Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu's chief concern was to elevate the fallen conditioned souls to the platform of devotional service to Lord Krishna. Since people were engaged in useless occupations, which would continue their material existence, Lord Shiva, in the form of Lord Advaita, appealed to the Supreme Lord to appear as Lord Chaitanya to deliver these illusioned souls. Actually, Lord Chaitanya appeared on the request of Lord Advaita. Similarly, Lord Shiva has a sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya. He's always thinking about the deliverance of the fallen souls, as exhibited by Lord Advaita Prabhu. This is the sign of a Vaishnava. He's always thinking, how will these fallen souls be delivered? How can I bring them to Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada, in his poem on his arrival in America, is praying, how will they understand this message? How will these fallen souls be delivered? They're covered by Tamagun, Rajagun. How will they become Krishna conscious? So this is the sign of a devotee. Prabhupada's talking in the purport earlier when he's talking about Brahmananda. He has that, he mentions that the absolute truth is adhokshaja, beyond material conception. And from the purport of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, we see where that, why is Prabhupada commenting on adhokshaja in the verse that adhokshaja doesn't appear, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commenting on Brahma Nirvana, says that Brahma Nirvana means the bliss of Brahma. But according to Prahlad, Nirvana means the bliss of realizing the Supreme Lord. And then he quotes, Adhokshaja lambham ihashupatmana sharirina sangsriti chakra shatana tad brahma nirvana sukham vidur buddhas tato apajadvam hridaye hridishwaram. Wise know that direct contact with the Lord, which includes the happiness of Brahma, destroys samsara for the sinful persons possessing material bodies in this world. Therefore, worship Paramatma in your heart. So, Prahlad Maharaj, Adhokshaja, the Lord is identified there as Adhokshaja, the transcendental personality of Godhead beyond material conception. So this Adhokshaja, the personality of Godhead, was the subject of Lord Shiva's meditation and his discourse. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Yeah, Radhesha Prabhu also posted that same reference from the 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj, that Srila Vishwanath points out there. Oh, Priti Purnamadavi Devi says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, is there any significance in the mention of the clothes worn by Lord Shiva? Generally, saffron clothes are worn by those in renounced order, but technically, Lord Shiva has a family. Sorry, I missed to hear your comment on saffron clothes from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. commentary.
I don't think Vishwanath speaks to this point here anyway. But one thing, of course, is Lord Shiva he's the most renounced, although he's technically a householder. He's always situated in perfect renunciation. Another thing is Lord Shiva dresses in his own way. Skulls and bodies smeared with ashes and so on. He's not a follower of conventional rules and regulations as far as the dress code or anything of that nature. He's his own man, as one said, as the expression goes. He dresses as he pleases, and not according to ordinary conventions. But he's more renounced than the most renounced sannyasis, even though he has a wife. He's Adhishra, perfect controller of the senses. Perfect controller of the senses. And Prabhupada cites that example where Parvati is engaged to try to agitate Lord Shiva for the sake of having a child for the demigods. And he doesn't become agitated. He's Dhira. So he's more than entitled to wear saffron.
Jai, thank you. Hare Krishna. Ross Prabhu, would you like to read our next text, which is 41?
Yes.
Wait, let me make sure I got the right number. Text 40, sorry.
Satu palabhyagatam atmayonim surasuresher avivanditam vihi utaya chakre shirasabi vandanam arhatama tasya yataiva Vishnu. Translation: Lord Shiva's lotus feet were worshipped by both the demigods and demons, but still, in spite of his exalted position, as soon as he saw that Lord Brahma was there among all the other demigods, he immediately stood up and offered him respect by bowing down and touching his lotus feet, just as Vamanadev offered his respectful obeisances to Kasyapa Muni. Purport: Kasyapa Muni was in the category of living entities, but he had a transcendental son, Vamanadev, who is an incarnation of Vishnu. Thus, although Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he offered his respects to Kasyapa Muni. Similarly, when Lord Krishna was a child, he used to offer his respectful obeisances to his mother and father, Nanda and Yashoda. Also, at the Battle of Kurukshetra, Lord Krishna touched the feet of Maharaj Yudhishthira because the king was his elder. It appears then that the personality of Godhead, Lord Shiva and other devotees, in spite of their being situated in exalted positions, instructed by practical example how to offer obeisances to their superiors. Lord Shiva offered his respectful obeisances to Brahma, because Brahma was his father, just as Kasyapa Muni was the father of Vamana.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any thoughts to share of yours? Maharaj?
Just a conventional ethical point that in Vedic culture, the father is to be respected. Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujam. In the Bhagavad Gita, this is austerity of the body, to offer respects to the personality of Godhead, Deva, and Dvija, the Brahmins, Guru, the spiritual master, and Pragya, superiors such as the mother, the father. In the Bible, of course, honor thy father and thy mother. And there's now in the modern context, it's all buddy-buddy. very common in America, at least these days, to address one's parents by first name, to be on a first name basis with them. So it's Mary, get off my back. It's like that's speaking to one's mother. So in the Vedic culture, or even in Western culture in previous days, one would have been appalled by such familiarity towards superiors. But now everything goes down, and so we're, why should anyone be superior to anyone else? It's all flat earth and equal respect. But the Vedic culture is hierarchical. We acknowledge that we're subordinate, that we have to offer respect to our superiors. Prabhupada mentioned someplace in Bhagavatam that even now things have gone down so much that even young men feel free to smoke in the presence of their elders. That sounds so, what's the word? Antiquated. But that sense is there where there's really culture. Then elders will be respected, the parents will be respected, teachers will be respected, the personality of Godhead will be respected. But now things are so low, we don't respect God, we don't respect anyone. It's like, I'm the most important person in the universe, or at least equally important with anyone else. Why these conventions and so on? So that's the sign that culture is lacking, or the culture has become degraded. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Saraswati Mata says, I hope this is not a silly question, but we were always touching the feet of all elders who would then touch your head. I once thanked my uncle for this, and he said, when we touch the feet of an elder, we are transferring our sins to that person, and the elder touches the head to transfer the sin back, along with blessings to the junior. Is this true?
I don't know any scriptural reference to that effect, and I doubt it. I don't think that if Prabhupada touched the head of the disciples, he was bestowing sins upon them. That doesn't sound right to me.
And Riti Purnamadavi Devi says, how to pay respects to elders who are materialists, as sometimes in Indian culture, they expect you to touch their feet, but in Vaishnavism, it is not recommended. You're muted, Maharaj.
Sorry. No, Prabhupada recommended. He told Brahmananda that's how he should respect his parents. Bow down to your parents, touch the feet. Yes. It's not that we abandon all these things, all these signs of culture or expressions of respect. What is that? Manadena. The Vaishnava gives respect to everyone. Not that you're my parents, but you're not Vaishnavas, so forget it. But we want the blessings of everyone. The blessings of the parents, the blessings of the teachers, blessings of everyone. But the blessings we want are blessings to be engaged in the service of Krishna.
Jai. And Saraswati.
I did hear a pastime where Srila Prabhupada did mention that. I know in the context the elders don't want to return the sins to the younger ones. They're happy to give blessings. But one of your godbrothers, Maharaj, did mention a story where Prabhupada said that when unwanted foot touching is there, then you can touch their heads and give it back to them. I did hear that story told.
And Saraswati Mata says, Uncle was a bit of a joker. Thanks, Maharaj. Radhesha Prabhu, can you lead us in kirtan to close out?
We have one last comment. Surabhi Kunj Devi said, oh, she confirms the story that I mentioned. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda ki Jai, Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana ki Jai. All glories to Sama devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sama devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sama devotees, Hare Krishna. Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hare Hare Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Radhesha Prabhu. Thank you, everyone, for your reading and hearing and being here, and especially Maharaj, thank you for being with us. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari.
There you go.
Jai. Panchatattva Prabhu's Traveling Ashram ki Jai.
Jai.
All right, Krishna. At least I'm far away from that hurricane right now. Yeah, Virabhadra indeed.
Yeah, the descriptions really feel similar, huh?
It's a really good one, yeah.
Yeah, I have something to say. I don't know if everybody knows this, but I had a stroke. Not well, it's been a long time now. Is why I don't participate much, because I really don't know what I've said, what I say. I don't know, but I told Maharaj about it, and that's why he doesn't bash me about participating, because I've been in the movement for a while, and I don't know. It's just that sometimes I can't keep track of what I've said or what I'm saying. So so forgive me if I don't participate a lot, because like I said, I had a stroke.
We
Krishna
love your
Kanteya,
kirtans.
we love your kirtan, and I have to say, sometimes I don't know what I'm saying either. So we're in the same boat, brother. I'm just really glad you're on the class, and I look forward every time you sing the holy names. You got something I don't have. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol. Krishna Kanteya Prabhu ki Jai.
Jai, Jai, Jai. Hare Krishna.